On the morning of December 31st, 2022, Rita Zizian sent a text to her daughter Michelle. It was Michelle's 30th birthday, and Rita was reaching out to apologize, hoping to close a rift that had grown between them. That text was never answered. Hours later, a car pulled up to the Zizian family home on Highland Drive in Chester Heights, Pennsylvania, a quiet, affluent suburb outside Philadelphia. Two people climbed out. A neighbor's doorbell camera recorded them arriving. Before the night was over, Richard Zizian, 71, and Rita Zizian, 68, had been shot and killed inside their own home. For more than 3 years, nothing moved. Investigators named Michelle Zizian a person of interest early on, but no charges followed. Then, in June 2026, Delaware County District Attorney Tanner Rouse announced that the silence was over. Michelle Zizian, now 33, was charged with first-degree murder, criminal homicide, burglary, and conspiracy in the deaths of both her parents. Rouse said the evidence showed beyond any doubt that Michelle bore at least direct responsibility. She did not act alone, and authorities have said they still do not know the full identity of everyone involved. Michelle Zizian has maintained she is innocent. In April 2025, she produced a handwritten document she titled An Open Letter to the World, delivered through her attorney to the Associated Press. In it, she stated flatly that she did not kill her parents. In court filings, she went further, suggesting her father may have killed her mother before taking his own life. She offered no explanation for the doorbell camera footage and no theory about who else was present at the scene that night. To understand how Michelle Zizian reached this point, you have to understand the group she had become embedded in. Outsiders call them the Zizians. They are a loose network of young computer scientists and intellectuals, most in their 20s and 30s, who share radical views on veganism, animal rights, gender identity, and artificial intelligence. They describe themselves as vegan anarcho-transhumanists. They believe a misaligned AI poses an existential threat to all sentient life. Their name comes from their leader, Jack LaSota, who operates under the alias Ziz. Jack LaSota holds a computer science degree from the University of Alaska and appears on a record of past NASA interns. She found her way into the rationalist community, a San Francisco-based intellectual movement organized around overcoming cognitive bias and taking AI risks seriously. That is where LaSota first found people who shared her preoccupations. But her thinking kept moving in more extreme directions. She eventually developed a theory that the brain's two hemispheres hold separate values and genders that, in her own framing, often want to destroy each other. She encouraged followers to sleep with only one hemisphere active at a time. At least 2 known suicides have been linked to those who followed her methods. By 2019, LaSota had broken decisively from mainstream rationalist organizations. In November of that year, she arrived at a rationalist retreat in Westminster Woods, California, with 3 associates, including Emma Bohanian and Alexander Leatham. They wore black robes and Guy Fawkes masks, distributed flyers, and attempted to disrupt proceedings. A SWAT team and helicopter were called when it was reported someone in the group was armed. No weapons were found, but the confrontation drew a permanent line. When LaSota walked away from the rationalist world, she took with her what the Center for Applied Rationality's director later described as extremely vulnerable and isolated followers. The Zizians did not live ordinary lives. A core group occupied retrofitted box trucks and vans, moving between properties. They settled for a time on a rental lot in Vallejo, California, owned by an 80-year-old man named Curtis Lind, who had met them through the local boating community. By late 2022, they were behind on rent, and Lind pursued eviction. 2 days before the eviction deadline, on November 15, 2022, he visited the property to inspect a water leak. He was struck on the head, lost consciousness, and woke up with a samurai sword run through his torso. When Lind regained consciousness, 3 of his tenants were standing over him, knives in hand. The right side of his skull was fractured. He managed to draw his own firearm and return fire, killing Emma Bohanian and wounding Alexander Leatham. He survived only by flagging down a passing neighbor. Investigators determined Lind had acted in self-defense. Leatham and Suri Dow were charged with murder and attempted murder. LaSota was not charged, though police confirmed contact with her at the scene. 6 weeks after the Vallejo attack, on the last night of 2022, Richard and Rita Zizian were shot dead in Chester Heights. Prosecutors say Michelle had been affiliated with LaSota and the broader group during this period and had grown estranged from her parents in the preceding year. A text she sent her father in January 2022 reflected a serious rupture. Her mother's birthday message that same December 31st received no reply. District Attorney Rouse noted there was ample time, after that text was sent in the morning, for Michelle to travel to the family home. On January 20, 2025, the same day Donald Trump was inaugurated for his second term, Border Patrol agent David Maland pulled over a vehicle on Interstate 91 in Coventry, Vermont, near the Canadian border. The passengers were Teresa Youngblood, 21, a University of Washington student, and Felix Bauckholt, an award-winning mathematics graduate from Germany. Both had ties to the Zizians. According to authorities, Youngblood drew a firearm and shot Maland, killing him. Agents returned fire, killing Bauckholt and wounding Youngblood. The Justice Department has since announced it will seek the death penalty. Investigators quickly connected the Vermont shooting back to Michelle Zizian. Authorities say the firearms used by Youngblood and Bauckholt were linked to Zizian, who faces a separate charge of lying to a Vermont gun dealer. In February 2025, a rural Maryland landowner called police about 3 unfamiliar people who had parked box trucks on his snow-covered property and asked permission to camp. Officers arrived and found Jack LaSota, Michelle Zizian, and a man named Daniel Blank. All 3 were arrested on charges of trespassing, obstructing law enforcement, and illegal gun possession. A Maryland trooper's report noted that all 3 were to be questioned in connection with crimes across multiple states tied to the Zizians. While those cases moved through the courts, the Vallejo story took a darker turn. Curtis Lind, the only surviving witness to the 2022 sword attack and the man scheduled to testify against Latham and Dow, was murdered in January 2025. Maximilian Snyder, a computer science student from a wealthy Seattle family with documented connections to the Zizians, was charged with the killing. A witness described Lind being found on his doorstep with a sword still through his chest. With the key eyewitness dead, the prosecution in the Latham and Dow case faces a considerably steeper climb. What connected these individuals across several states was an ideology dense enough to take years of reading to fully absorb. The Zizians believe artificial intelligence will either save or destroy all sentient life, and that they bear some responsibility for determining which outcome prevails. They regard meat consumption as a moral atrocity equivalent to murder, which places the overwhelming majority of the human population in the category of active wrongdoers. LaSota promoted extreme veganism, communal frugal living, and a set of practices she described as cognitive improvements, including the deeply dangerous hemisphere sleep technique. The body count directly or indirectly associated with the group now stands at 6. Jack LaSota remains in federal custody in Maryland. A judge ordered a mental competency evaluation after her own defense attorneys raised concerns about her mental state. She faces federal charges of illegal gun possession as a fugitive from justice, on top of the existing Maryland charges. Her attorneys have stated in filings that LaSota rejects the label Zizian and denies that she and her associates constitute a cult. This is the same person who, in August 2022, faked her own death when the U.S. Coast Guard responded to reports that she had fallen from a boat in San Francisco Bay. No body was recovered, and an obituary was published. As of mid-2026, the Zizians' case spans at least 3 states, 7 defendants, and 6 confirmed deaths. Michelle Zizian awaits trial in Pennsylvania on first-degree murder charges. Teresa Youngblood faces the death penalty in Vermont for the killing of Border Patrol agent David Maland. Alexander Latham and Suri Dow remain in pre-trial proceedings in California for the 2022 Vallejo attack. Their star witness now dead before he could ever take the stand. Prosecutors in Delaware County have said publicly that they believe additional co-conspirators in the Zizian parent murders have not yet been charged. The shape of this network is still becoming clear, 1 court appearance at a time, as investigators in 3 states continue working to establish exactly how far the reach of this group of true believers actually extended.